You wake up, no messages, no plans, no buzz filling your screen, just silence, just you. That stillness. It feels almost unnatural, heavy. And then it hits, that ache in your chest, that whisper of doubt. Not because you're lonely, but because some part of you wonders, do I matter to anyone? That's when most men break. They reach for their phones, text someone they shouldn't, scroll endlessly just to feel something. Because society taught you that silence means failure. If no one's texting, if no one's calling, then maybe you're behind. Maybe you're unwanted. Maybe you're losing. But what if silence isn't a punishment? What if it's a door? A door most men are too afraid to walk through. The world taught you to fear solitude. But no one told you what happens when you lean into it, when you stop chasing noise and confront the quiet. The man who walks alone, not because he has no one, but because he chooses to, is not broken. He is becoming. And that makes him dangerous. Because while others chase validation, he builds something unshakable within. This message isn't for every man. It's for those tired of shrinking themselves, tired of performing for approval, tired of being the last one chosen. This is for the man who's done running and ready to rise. If that's you, type it in the comments. I choose solitude to forge my strength. Not because it sounds good, but because you're done hiding, you're done chasing, you're ready to become. This is your line in the sand. Own it, and let's begin. Number 1, the fear of silence. You sit in the dark, no sounds, no distractions, no one pulling at your time, just the sound of your breath, and something deeper beneath it, your thoughts. Most men don't fear being alone. They fear what solitude reveals, not the absence of others, but the presence of truth. Silence isn't empty. It's exposing. It unlocks everything you've buried, the regrets you never faced, the opportunities you let slip, the promises you broke when no one was watching. And suddenly they all rise to the surface, raw and unfiltered. That girl you lost, the dream you abandoned, the man you said you'd become, but never did. And now comes the real test. Will you face it or run again? This is why most men keep moving, from woman to woman, from goal to goal, from one dopamine hit to the next, not to build, but to escape, not from her, not from them, from themselves. Because silence strips away the mask, and once it does, you either shatter or awaken. At first, the quiet is brutal. It screams your doubts louder than any critic ever could. You're not enough. You'll always be forgotten. Nothing you do really matters. But if you stay, if you sit through the storm without trying to numb it, something shifts. You realize you're still here, still breathing, still capable. And those voices? They are echoes, not your truth. They knock, but you don't have to open the door. From that stillness, a new voice begins to rise. Not loud, but firm. Not perfect, but real. And when you move again, you move with weight. Your words carry depth. Your presence feels grounded. Not because you changed the world, but because you finally returned to yourself. And that is rare. That is powerful. That is stoic. Number 2, approval detox, reclaiming the man within. Most men are addicted, not to alcohol, not to drugs, not to gambling, but to something far more subtle, approval. They check their phones first thing in the morning, not for information, but for validation. Did she reply? Did they like my post? Did someone notice me today? It feels innocent, it feels harmless, but it's not. It's neediness in disguise, dependence dressed up as connection, and the most dangerous part, it's invisible. No one tells you you're addicted. There's no rehab, no rock bottom. But make no mistake, it slowly rewires you. It reshapes your identity from the inside out. Approval seeking makes you smaller. You nod when you want to. Resist. You laugh when you feel nothing. You go along to get along, not because it's right, but because rejection feels unbearable. You think you're playing it safe, but really you're playing small. You're trading your truth for applause, your strength for belonging, your soul for a like. And over time, you become a stranger to yourself, trapped in a version of you others created. Polished on the outside, hollow on the inside. Here's the truth. Approval is a drug. It hits fast, then fades. And like any drug, it leaves you chasing more likes, more attention, more pretending, until you burn out. Not because you're weak, but because you've been wearing a mask for far too long. And brother, masks get heavy. But there's another path. It's brutal, yes, but it's real. It's called approval detox. You stop refreshing your feed every 5 minutes. You stop reshaping your opinions to fit the room. You start asking the hard questions. Am I doing this because I believe in it? Or because I want to be liked? That question alone is a turning point. You stop chasing validation. You stop apologizing for having standards. You stop explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. And yes, at first, it feels like withdrawal. Silence hits. Doubt creeps in. Your mind screams, what if they don't like me anymore? But you stay with it. You breathe. You let the discomfort sharpen you. And then, from that silence, something emerges. Not a shout, but a steady voice. Your voice. The one buried under years of performing. The one that doesn't speak to be heard, but speaks because it must. And everything changes. You stop texting to stay relevant. You stop laughing when it's not funny. You start honoring your time, your truth, your peace. People notice. They can feel the shift. You no longer seek attention. You command it, not through noise, but through presence. That's the paradox. When you stop trying to be seen, you become impossible to ignore. Because men who chase approval, they blend in. But men who choose themselves, they stand out. Not by shouting, but by standing still. You know what you believe. You know what you'll allow. And most importantly, you know who you are when no one's watching. That's the kind of man people remember, not for his noise, but for his unshakable presence. Approval detox is messy. It will cost you. Fake friends, cheap compliments, surface-level acceptance. But what you gain? It's everything. You gain respect, not demanded, but earned. You gain peace, not from hiding, but from standing. And you gain power, not from control, but from clarity. So now ask yourself honestly, are you still living to be liked? Still bending who you are to fit what others want? Or are you finally ready to choose yourself? Because when you do, truly do, everything shifts. You stop chasing, you stop performing, you simply become. And the world, it watches in silence. Number 3, clarity through solitude. The path. Back to yourself. There comes a moment in every man's life when the noise fades, the world doesn't stop, but you step back. And in that stillness, something begins to shift. It's not emptiness. It's not loneliness. It's a sacred silence, a space the world rarely offers, but a man deeply needs. And in that silence, the fog lifts. Not because the world changed, but because you finally chose to unplug from it. You turn down the volume on the pressure, the performance, the endless expectations, and in the quiet, something powerful rises. Yourself. Solitude isn't isolation. It's restoration. It's the peeling away of everything that doesn't belong to you. The labels, the noise, the masks, until what's left is truth. When you're buried in chaos, you're reactive, you're adjusting, performing, rushing, pleasing. You're constantly checking if you're getting it right. according to someone else's standard. But in solitude, you slow down. You stop reacting and start observing. You start noticing what you allow into your time, your mind, your soul. You realize most of your thoughts weren't yours. The goals, inherited. The lifestyle, programmed. The idea of success, sold to you by people who never knew your heart, and you've been chasing a life that never felt like home. But when the phone stays down, when the weekend isn't booked out, when the feed goes quiet, something sacred appears. Clarity. You begin to ask better questions. Not what do they expect of me, but what do I truly want? What fuels me? What drains me? Who do I become around certain people? And do I even like that man? In solitude, you stop rushing your answers. You stop lying to yourself to avoid discomfort. You sit in the silence. You breathe through the truth, and slowly, the mirror clears. You stop pretending you're okay with things that don't sit right. You start saying no without guilt. You begin to create space, not to push people away, but to honor your own discernment. You cut ties, and not in anger, but in clarity. You no longer wake up to survive. You wake up with intention. Your actions align with your values. Your routines reflect your goals. Your circle mirrors your truth, and something else shifts. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your peace to people addicted to chaos. You no longer argue. You simply live, and your life begins to speak louder than your words ever could. You're no longer available for drama. You're no longer vulnerable to manipulation. You're no longer shaken by opinions, because now you're rooted. People may misunderstand you. Some will leave. But you remain unmoved. Not because you're cold, but because you're finally whole. This is the gift of solitude. It burns away the noise. It destroys the illusions. It strips away every version of you that wasn't yours. And what's left is a man with peace in his chest and purpose in his stride. A man who speaks only when it matters, who builds instead of chases, who no longer seeks to be chosen, because he's already chosen himself. Your silence is not a weakness. It's a weapon. If your world feels quiet right now, don't panic. That silence isn't emptiness. It's an invitation. It's life asking you to pause, to listen, to meet the man you've ignored for far too long, yourself. You don't need more noise. You don't need more likes, more replies, more validation. You need stillness. You need solitude. You need space to become who you were meant to be. The man who walks alone isn't broken. He's rebuilding. He's not escaping the world. He's returning to his center, sharpening, refining, burning away everything that was never truly his. And when that man re-emerges, he doesn't need to be loud. His presence says enough. If something in this silence stirred something deep within you, don't just scroll past. Drop a comment and tell us, what's one distraction you're finally ready to let go of today? Then hit that like button. Not because this video entertained you, but because something inside you awakened. And if you're done chasing approval, if you're ready to build strength, clarity, and discipline from the inside out, then subscribe to this channel. Here at the Stoic Wolf, we're not building noise. We're building men. Rooted, resilient, unshakable. This is your silence. Use it well.